Last night I brought you the heartbreaking story of a Sunshine Coast woman who, after life-saving brain surgery in Sydney, was forced straight out of hospital into hotel quarantine before she could return home to recover. Your response to her story, well, it was phenomenal. And your anger, demonstrating yet again that Australians still have compassion, even if some of the bureaucrats making the decisions do not. If this woman, Jayne Brown, had been operated on in Queensland, well, she'd be home now. If she'd contracted coronavirus in Brisbane, she'd be at home now. Of course, she'd be self-isolating, but she'd be home on her rural property. Her only crime, if you can call it that, is that she needed an operation interstate, and because of that, these nonsense border rules came into play. I repeat, she's not tested positive for coronavirus. Her premier is only locking her up because the brain surgery needed to save her life had to be done in Sydney. Now, I can't imagine what it would be like to try and recover from that sort of surgery in a small hotel room with nothing more than a packet of Panadol, quite literally packet of Panadol, and a wheat pack for comfort. Is this really the sort of country we've allowed these rules to make us? These bureaucrats, once nameless, faceless officials, are revelling in the newfound power and media profiles, and they're leading weak politicians around the nose ring like bulls in a prize ring because the politicians are too slow to comprehend that the bureaucrats are only there to give advice. It's the politician, the one we elect, that ultimately gets to make the decision. It's an indictment on our democracy, isn't it? But it got worse today when we saw exposed the fact that the Queensland health poobah has one rule for Queenslanders recovering from surgery, waiting to get home, hoping to get home, and another rule for multi-millionaire yachties from interstate. Now, I'm not like some on the left. I don't begrudge anyone a nice boat or a big bank balance. Good on them. We're supposed to be a country that believes in aspiration, but I do begrudge different rules based on that bank balance or who you might know. Twice, Jayne Brown has tried to get an exemption on medical grounds, second time with a letter from her surgeon, Charlie Teo, to recover in her own home, and twice she's been knocked back. Today, the health chief, Dr Jeanette Young, was forced to admit that she's given 10 yachts, all with passengers, exemptions to break Queensland's border ban.
So that's a standard process that's already worked for 10 yachts. Now, these people arrived. When they arrived, Maritime Services is involved because they check the log to make sure where that particular yacht has been. And as I say, this has happened now 10 times, so we've got a good system going there.
Well, you heard it from her. Young says they're all supposed to wait out their 2 weeks on board their luxury yachts, have a COVID test, then they're free to move around Queensland, quarantine on their yacht. Yet Jayne Brown can't recover in her own home in a rural area. Let's hope Queenslanders remember this. At the election in October, Jayne Brown says she will.
Thank you. And can I just say one last thing?
Of course.
Labor has lost my vote. That's for sure.